And welcome to the reproductive system. This is going to be in two parts. The first part is going to be the process of meiosis, or reduction division, or how to make egg and sperm. And then the second one is going to be male reproduction. All of this is going to be in this PowerPoint. Then there's a separate PowerPoint for female reproduction, since it's much more complicated. So, in the next slide, this is going to be a general review of how you make a haploid gamete sex cell, whether it's male or female. Every cell in your body has billions upon trillions of cells that are diploid because you are half mom and half dad. You got 23 chromosomes unique from mom, 23 chromosomes from dad. So you basically have a duplicate of 23 chromosomes. That allows for things to be recessive, things to be dominant, to make a unique individual with a unique birth, life, and then death. So the egg and sperm, however, during sexual reproduction has to have half that number. You cannot disobey the laws of chromosomes. So if a haploid sex cell chromosome is 23 and a diploid organism, like a person, is 46, you really have to keep with those numbers. So all your body cells are diploid, but your sex cells are going to be half that. So half of 46. So you then are going to have your 23 from mom and 23 from dad. And the process of making that haploid cell is the process called meiosis. So you have your primary sex organs. That's going to be called your gonads, your testes in a male, ovaries in a female. Gonads produce sex cells called gametes. They are haploid eggs, haploid sperm. They can secrete sex hormones, more about that later. You have your major testes and ovaries, and then you have accessory reproductive organs like ducts like fallopian tubes or vas deferens, glands like the prostate gland, and external genitalia like the penis. And also sex hormones, which we'll talk about when we talk about how to make sperm, how to make eggs. In general, the sex hormones are under two categories: androgens for males like testosterone, and then estrogens and progesterones for females. All right, so sex hormones play all kinds of roles. The role that we're going to zero in on is the first one, the development and function of the reproductive organs. Not going to go into the sex behavior and drives or the growth and development. That is another conversation. Okay, the process by which you get a sex cell is called meiosis, or how to make a haploid sex cell, aka gametes, if it's a female, eggs, a male sperm. Now, meiosis is basically mitosis twice, because what's now going to happen is that you're going to have a gamete, and right before it starts to go into the process of making a sperm or egg, it's going to replicate its DNA in the S phase of the cell cycle. And that then is going to give you a cell that is going to be twice the number. And then that cell will undergo meiosis 1, which is like mitosis 1. And since we've already gone in AMP1 about mitosis, then I'm going to just tell you how it differs. So the big thing in meiosis that does not happen in mitosis is crossing over. And the reason why you are unique, there is no one like you unless you have an identical twin. And even they can be quite different. But chromosome-wise, you are a unique blend because of crossing over of mom and dad. So with this crossing over, it means that mom and dad mix their chromosomes separately so that they have an incredible variety of sperm and an incredible variety of eggs. that theoretically, if you had 100 pregnancies, you would end up with 100 different children. And none of them would be exactly like you. They would be unique. That's all due to crossing over. I have a pretty picture for you in a second to show you this. But that does not happen with your body cells. And that's probably a good thing. I mean, if the epithelial cells of my lip decide to get unique and different, that would not be a good thing. Okay, so this is showing meiosis 1, and it's exactly like mitosis, where you start to see the chromosomes. They're going to align in the middle of the equatorial plate, and then you're going to have them divide and form 2 eggs at the end of meiosis 1. And they will be diploid, and that's the reason why you have to swing into meiosis 2. But look at the crossing over right here. This is what this is trying to show you, crossing over right there, crossing over right there. There's a lot of breaks, a lot of crossing over, and that is going to establish the diversity and variety of the eggs in the sperm. That's what I want you to remember. Now, in meiosis 2, again, it's going to be very similar to mitosis. It's like you swing into, once you've made those two gametes that are slowly but surely going to become haploid. They're going to become haploid here. So at the end of meiosis 1, you've got 2 cells, they're diploid. They swing right into meiosis 2. And at the end, they divide, you get 4. Excuse me, and that gives you haploid. Look at all of this. So now what's going to happen is when they divide, let me go back, I lost that. Sometimes things go forward easy, too easy, and then trying to get back is like, good luck. Yeah, here we are. So this is at the end of meiosis 1. You've got 2 cells. They're going to go to meiosis 2. And at the end, you're going to have 4 cells, and all of those 4 cells are going to be haploid. So now that we've gone through the overview, we are now going to get into the male reproductive tract first, because it's very straightforward, much easier to understand. All right, so I'm going to again show you a pretty picture in a second, but you have your gonads, or your organ that is going to make the sperm, called the testes, and the sperm are delivered to the exterior through a series of ducts. So the picture will show you the epididymis, the ductus deferens, the ejaculatory duct, and the urethra. In addition, you have glands, because the sperm themselves are very mobile and they prefer aqueous solutions. And the female will certainly have aqueous solutions, but the male has to produce its own aqueous solutions, otherwise the sperm will die. So they have all of these vesicles that will have their secretions ongoing as the sperm moves through the male reproductive tract. So the ejaculate has a lot of fluid, and that is going to ensure the nourishment and the nourishment and the energy that the sperm need, because it is quite a long journey when you think about the fact that it's microscopic and it has to go quite a long way. So we have seminal vesicles, we have the prostate gland, we have the bulbourethral gland. All of those are going to contribute to the semen that contain the sperm. Okay, so here we go. This is going to be your testes right down here. And when the sperm is made, it actually matures in what is called the epididymis. And then the mature sperm starts swimming up the vas or ductus deferens. And then for the male, you are going to have kind of like a 2-in-1 exit. This is your bladder, because either sperm or urine can come out of the penis. But that's again another conversation. So now let's follow the sperm. So with the sperm, as it's moving duct deferens, and around here you have the various prostate glands and other glands that are going to produce the semen. And then you're going to, actually you call this the urethra. A kind of two-in-one. It can be either the urethra that will deliver the sperm or the urethra that will deliver urine. Right now we're doing sperm. So we're going to now go down the urethra, threads through the penis, and then out. So that's kind of the overview of the functional anatomy of the male reproductive tract. Okay, gotta hit that little thing right. All right, now in the testes, they have a closely packed seminiferous tubules. That gives you a lot of surface area, that gives you a lot of sperm. You have to remember that at puberty, men will produce sperm until the day they die. So it's not like women who are going to ovulate one egg a month. They have to make sperm all the time, 24/7. So part of that seminiferous tubules is it allows for the replacement of the sperm by mitosis, as well as the sperms undergoing meiosis. And all of that coupled together gives a man a lifetime of sperm. So the seminiferous tubules are these tightly packed coiled within the testes that will both allow for mitosis to replace the sperm and meiosis to make the sperm. So we have the epididymis after the spermatids are formed, where they are going to mature and acquire a tail. You do have two accessory cells that help in the development of the sperm, named after the guys who discovered them. One is called Sertoli, and the Sertoli cells are going to nurse these sperm, because when you think about a sperm is basically a mobile nucleus. That's really all it is. It's one great big nucleus that now is haploid and it's very unique, and then you attach a tail and it swims. But that's it. So a lot of the other, like storing nourishment and electrolytes and the process and the energy needed to undergo meiosis 1 and 2, all of that is helped along by the Sertoli cells. There are also other types of cells that are scattered throughout the seminiferous tubules, again named after the guy who discovered them, Leydig, and the Leydig cells produce testosterone. And you just cannot make functional sperm without the male hormone of testosterone. So since you're making the sperm in the seminiferous tubules of the testes, then it behooves you to have interspersed Leydig cells producing the testosterone, which is going to complete the maturation of the sperm as well. Okay, so just wanted to show you what the little seminiferous tubules look like. Here they are. You got a lot of bang for your buck. And then once you have made the immature sperm, this is the epididymis, where it's going to mature and get its tail, and then it starts to join the duct system like the ductus deferens. Okay, let's make a sperm. Actually, we're going to make 4 sperm, because meiosis will give you 4 cells at the end of the process. And for males, it's very straightforward. Spermatogenesis is going to be, you've got one like primitive cell is going to undergo meiosis 1, give you 2 cells. Those 2 cells will undergo meiosis 2, you get 4 cells. And then those 4 cells will mature in the epididymis, and you've got 4 swimming sperm. And the process of spermatogenesis is 24/7 for the male. So it's spermatogenesis is a sequence of events that produce sperm in the seminiferous tubules of the testes. Right? Each cell has 2 sets of chromosomes, one from mom, one from dad. And the cells of your body, and that's including at the very beginning the cell in the seminiferous tubules is diploid. Now, we have 23 from mom, 23 from dad, and we're diploid, but our sex cells are haploid. They're 23. And that has to do with the fact that you want to have a really unique individual. So you have a unique haploid sperm and a unique haploid egg, and they come together, and 9 months later you have a unique human being. So that's the whole reason for the spermatogenesis. Okay, so here comes some terminology. The primitive cell that gets targeted is called a spermatogonium. It's going to undergo DNA replication in the S phase of cell cycle to form a primary spermatocyte. That primary spermatocyte cell has 96 chromosomes, and because, right, 46 and 46 is 92, and then that cell whoops into meiosis 1, and at the end of meiosis 2, you've got 2 cells that are called secondary spermatocytes. Those 2 secondary spermatocytes whip right into meiosis 2, and at the end of meiosis 2, you have 4. But this is 96. When you finish meiosis 2, you've got your 40. Try again, that should be 92. I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is wrong. 92, that has 46. Higher math sometimes escapes me. And then the haploid is 23. So 92, 46, 23. Duh. Okay. Then we don't call them sperm quite yet because they haven't had their tail. So they need a tail. So we call them spermatids. And then they go into the epididymis and get their tail and graduate and then swarf. There we go. Okay, next slide. Come on, there we are. This may or may not be helpful, and if it's confusing, don't worry about it. This is just showing you the process of spermatogenesis. So here's your spermatogonium. At the end, you've got your primary spermatocyte, that's your primary spermatocyte, your secondary spermatocyte, your 4 spermatids that get their tail and become sperm. And this is just showing what is actually happening in the seminiferous tubules. So again, you have a spermatogonium, it undergoes the S phase, it becomes 92 primary spermatocyte. Meiosis 1 gives you 2 diploid, 46. And then those 2 undergo their second meiosis, and you end up with 4 cells. They're all haploid. They will have to go into the epididymis to mature and get their sperm, and then they're able to swim off. And there we go for spermatogenesis. So let's just look at the sperm, because I remember I said the sperm is just basically a mobile nucleus, obviously very microscopic, much smaller than the egg, which will be the next PowerPoint. But the sperm itself has 3 major regions. A head, that's where the DNA is. And I'm not going to hold you responsible for things like acrosomes. That has a lot to do with fertilization and early human development, which we're not going to cover. I just want you to know the head has the DNA. The midpiece has the mitochondria, because movement does mean that you have to generate energy, and the mitochondria make ATP. And then the tail. So the midpiece with the mitochondria make the ATP so the tail can whip and move that sperm towards the promised land of the fallopian tube. And I think the last slide is a pretty picture of a sperm. Yep, okay. So here we go. This is happening in the seminiferous tubules of the testes. And then this is what's happening in the epididymis. So what you start to see is kind of a typical nucleus and a round cell. And then as you get to the actual mature sperm, notice how much of the cytoplasm is gone. So what you have is you have pretty much not pretty much, you have your DNA in the head. Your midpiece is making the ATP to fuel and give energy to the tail, which has to continually whip and move and propel that sperm towards the egg. And I think that is it. Yes. So I will see you for female reproduction in a little bit. Thank you.